Alright guys, so you heard the noise. Now, I guess I will call this one Scratch and Dent Edition. Now, I do have actually some more videos of scratch and dents, and I'm going to be doing basically more videos on items that are bought and they have some kind of issue, and we work to get those resolved. Now, this was a brand new dryer, customer bought, and you can hear the noise. So we're digging into it to find what the issue is. Something is grinding or rubbing, so we know it has a problem. Just can't pinpoint where it's coming from. So let's dig and let's see what's going on. So I'm using a manual screwdriver today, just because a lot of times you want to be super careful with the threads on a lot of these thin metal, especially Samsung. So I just, for the sake of the video, it's a lot easier. So a few things I found on this dryer. You'll see it shortly. One of the screws on the baffle was sticking up pretty good. You can see it. And so I thought for a second that was it, but it wasn't. But nonetheless, we tightened it up and get that out of the way. So the dryer, apparently, look at that screw, how tall it is. That could have been rubbing on the side, but luckily it wasn't that. So this dryer was actually either dropped, had a pretty good dent on the side. You'll see it as we move along. And what's happening is as it rotates, it would make a noise. The customer actually they noticed it right away, and they actually called me and said, should you be hearing anything? I said, no, you shouldn't be hearing any noises. Maybe a slight smell. Usually when it's a new element, the oils do have to burn off, so you might get a slight smell, but it goes away within a minute or so. So it kept going and going, and eventually I was called, and here we are. So pretty straightforward. We're going to dig into it. We're going to find what the issue is, and I'll jump in as needed. By the way, those screws in the front, make sure you guys pay attention to those. Those have a washer, and they're the only screws on the dryer that are different colors. So do not put those in places where they don't belong. Sometimes I go on a call and the machine's been opened, and I ask the customer, did anyone open it? They say no. And I ask, why are these screws up here? And sometimes, oh, that's how it was, I guess. I said, okay. I think they made a mistake at the factory. So yeah. So we're going to be taking it apart, and I want you guys to see how I fix this. You can also check the drum as well. The drum will definitely show you and gives you a good indicator of where the actual abrasion or scraping is. So whenever you buy a machine, in fact, I'm going to be calling it Scratch and Dent Edition, where I deal with scratch and dent appliances. I have a few videos already posted. You can see the damage, and the drum is definitely rubbing in that area. So whenever you have friction, there is a problem with how the drum is sitting. Now we're at the drum, and you can see the abrasion. So that's where the drum is making contact. Now, if you're experiencing this, you do not want to continue to use your machine. Eventually, what it's going to do, it's going to actually eat a hole into the drum and also into the side of the machine. And it's going to ruin your machine. The rollers were slightly off, so I just gave it a nice little tug, nothing crazy. And we're going to be looking at the bulkhead, which is that piece in the back where the wheels are attached to. And you will see the space between the right side and the left side. And that was my finding, indicating that something had shifted. I think when the customer bought this dryer, also that was not in. So as you go along, anything that's out of place, tuck them back in. So as we go along, you'll notice the side of the bulkhead on the left, it was super tight. Now I went outside on the side of the machine trying to find some indentation. It's hard to tell on camera, but it definitely had a slight indentation, but it was more structural, meaning the impact made its way inside and pushed the bulkhead slightly to the left. So when the drum is rotating, you can definitely hear it. So I did not have I had a huge fat screwdriver, and that is what I would have used on this, where it does not make as much tiny impression, so to say. But basically what's happening now, we are pushing the bulkhead back to where it was originally. And you'll see after I'm done, you'll basically see the gap has increased. So make sure you pay attention to those things. And before you put the drum back in, go ahead and rotate. Make sure that you don't hear the scraping before you put the machine together and then having to take it back apart. In fact, you could even put the drum in, the belt, and the bulkhead, which is the front piece that matches the back with the two rollers on it. Put that back on and rotate the drum and see if it makes a noise. If it doesn't, then you're good to go. If it's still making a grinding sound, then you know you need to take it back off and concentrate. Also, I'll be using a hammer and tapping the lower portion where the dent is, and it's going to be pushing out the area even more. Now, what I would recommend here would be a piece of wood and a nice hammer, and you just tap the wood. I did not have. All I had, in fact, that was the customer's hammer. So you make use of what you have, but a piece of wood and striking the wood would be perfect. But nonetheless, it came out pretty well, and we got basically the spacing that we needed. And when I ran the screwdriver along the side, the space was perfect. Take a look at that. And previously, you couldn't get the screwdriver behind it. So I think we're looking beautiful right here. Pay attention to the belt. Make sure it's not twisted. Otherwise, it's going to come right off as soon as you press start, and you could destroy the belt. So always rotate it, double check, make sure it's nice and straight. And also pay attention to the line on the drum so that you get the belt back in that same location. Otherwise, the belt could walk and sometimes it could come off. So putting on the bulkhead. And guys, one pointer here. Since the metal on these units, I've been seeing a lot of them stripping out because a lot of guys that work on them, they over torque. So to be on the safe side, you're better off using a manual screwdriver. It's not a lot of screws. In fact, you do a better job sometimes using a manual. Yes, it does. It takes a little bit longer, but in the end, it's saving your dryer and you're not damaging the threads or the metal. I like to keep the screws for the filter housing together. All right, so don't forget to plug in your door switch. Otherwise, you will not be able to start the machine. And make sure that you put all the wires or the harness, put them in their keeper to protect them from rubbing on the drum. Super important. So I have 3 screws here, and then we're going to be securing the harnesses. And then we're done. We're going to close the lid. And then you have 3 more screws. Make sure you use the correct screws, guys. When you open the door, there's a specialty screws. All right, and pretty soon you'll hear the sound of the dryer. It's nice and quiet. All right, enjoy the rest of the video. Thanks for watching.